Namaste. You're listening to the Savannah Podcast. Join us on an exploration of Eastern spirituality, yoga philosophy, and conscious living for the new age. This podcast is a production of SavannahSpirit.com, the best place to shop for unique clothing, spiritual handcrafted jewelry, healing gemstones, and fair trade gifts from the Far East. Now, here's your host, Brett Larkin.
Hello, Savannah family. Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for being here. Today, we're talking about chanting. Before we dive into today's episode, I just wanted to remind you how you can support the show. You can leave a rating or review here on iTunes. And if you're not sure how to do that, savannahspirit.com/review will teach you exactly how with step-by-step instructions. And the other way is to make a purchase on savannahspirit.com. I have a really new, exciting promo code. It's called TAKE25. So if you enter TAKE25 at checkout, you get $25 off anything at savannahspirit.com, anything you'd like. So this is a great way to treat yourself or maybe get a gift for someone else. Now, later this week, I'm going to interview Mike Cohen, and Mike's going to tell us all about kirtan, which is, well, I'll let him tell us what it is. But I wanted to do a little episode about chanting, sharing my experience, and also offering a bunch of tips for you guys who may be interested in chanting or may hate chanting or find it triggering, just to share, because I think it's one of those things that a lot of times doesn't feel comfortable, especially when we're just starting our practice. So if you can relate to me, when I first started doing yoga, I really didn't like to chant. In fact, I felt a little bit uncomfortable if a teacher asked me to chant. It just really wasn't in my wheelhouse. It wasn't in my comfort zone. So I really want you to know that if you feel that way right now, you are not alone. And one of the most beautiful things about the yoga practice is that there's so much for us to uncover, right? We all enter the practice through different avenues, right? Maybe initially you were really attracted to hot yoga or restorative, or an injury brought you to this practice, or who knows. But the message I want to share today is that your practice just gets richer over time, and you don't have to pressure yourself to do anything that you're not interested in doing. I didn't have any interest in chanting, and now years later, it's become something that I'm doing daily. And that was just a natural evolution, just a natural progression. So don't panic if you're not interested in chanting right now and you think like, oh, you're not a legitimate yoga person or perhaps a teacher. Like, I even started teaching and I didn't like chanting. I didn't want to chant when I taught, so I didn't. I think it's really important that we only teach from our own direct experience, and that's what I talk about a lot in my teacher trainings, both online and in person. We only teach from our own direct experience. So when I wasn't enjoying chanting, I just didn't incorporate it. But I did feel a little bit like I was a bad yoga teacher, or I wasn't an authentic yoga teacher because I wasn't doing all this chanting. So what I want to share with you is, like, if you have feelings like that about anything in the yoga practice, it doesn't have to be chanting. You know, maybe you're not into the essential oils, or you're not into like the spirituality side, whatever that means. You're not into meditation yet. Don't worry. These things, if you just keep coming to your mat and practicing what you do love, again, this practice is just going to take you deeper and deeper and deeper into yourself, and that there's just so many ancient teachings to explore, a never-ending journey. So one thing that really shifted my mindset about chanting that I wanted to share with you is this concept that your voice, your unique voice, is healing for your unique body. So it's not about what do you sound like when you chant. It's not about singing. It's not about kind of like, does it sound pretty or not? It's really about vibration, right? When you are chanting, it's about entering a vibratory state, and this idea that your voice is like healing medicine for your body. So if you think we're made up of majority water, right? So using our own unique sound current to sort of vibrate our vessel, the house that we live in, which is our body, is incredibly healing. And being sung to doesn't do that. Listening to music doesn't do that. It's only by you making noise and vibrating in your own body that you're going to get the effect, the healing effect that is your own voice. And this concept, when it was presented to me, I found very exciting, that my own voice is healing, potent medicine for my body. And if you've never chanted for 8 minutes, I think 8 minutes is a really good place to start. because, just chanting Om, actually, even just chanting Om, which I guess would be less than a minute, you feel different after, right? There's like a vibratory, energetic shift that happens. But try chanting for 8 minutes, you will feel transported. And I have a video, I think a free video on YouTube where we chant long Sat Nams. I think Sat Nam is another mantra that I'd really suggest as a good one to start with because it's so simple, right? Om is very simple, so that's a great one to start with. But I think even easier is Sat Nam. SAT space NAM, Sat Nam, which means truth is my identity. It's the default mantra in Kundalini Yoga. It's very simple. So you could chant long Sat Nams for 8 minutes. Sat Nam, over and over and over again. And I have a video if you want to do it with me. And you'll feel so changed after. I mean, it's like the equivalent, it's a hack, honestly, because it's the equivalent of doing, at least for me energetically, like a 60-minute vinyasa class, just those 8 minutes of chanting. So it was when I started doing that I realized that my voice had the power to shift my energy. And we have a body and we have a mind. The breath is the vehicle that's connecting the two. And controlling the breath can be challenging. And getting the mind to quiet down can also be challenging. So that's why bringing in mantra, and mantra literally means man, in Sanskrit, if we go back to the origin of these words, means mind. Tra means wave. It's literally a sound current, a wave, a wave of sound, a mental thought that cuts through all the other thoughts. Because you could think of it this simply, like you are thinking mantra all day long. Like whatever you are saying to yourself in your head is your current mantra. So you should replace it with a high frequency, high vibe mantra that's been proven throughout the ages from ancient times to be highly effective, and use that to anchor your attention instead. We cannot think our way into enlightenment or into a state of calm, or into our third eye center, that space just above and between the eyebrows, where the root of your nose meets your skull bone, that seat of intuition, right? Your ajna chakra. You can't think your way there. The only way you can get there is through the breath. And we have an experience of being more connected to our intuition a lot of the times after we practice yoga or after we meditate. But again, what I've been finding personally is the biggest hack to get there faster, more efficiently, more effectively, and to unite the breath, body, and mind is to use mantra, whether spoken internally or singing it out. But I'd really encourage you to sing it out, because then you get to that idea of your voice healing you. You feel your lungs, and they are so much more challenged to expand. I say as a yoga teacher, how many times a day do I say? Deepen your breath. And sometimes people listen and sometimes don't. And I say it to myself too, deepen your breath, deepen your breath. But when I have to inhale really deep, because I know I have to chant that Sat Nam, right? For as long, the goal to make it as long as possible. I have those long vowel sounds. Those long vowel sounds are associated with the heart chakra. So when you make those long vowel sounds like Sat or Nam or Namo, those are balancing the heart chakra, bringing prana, life force energy into the space of the heart. And there's other words that are designed to bring prana, life force energy into the space of the third eye. And if you think this all sounds kind of like wacky or out there, I mean, if you believe in Chinese medicine or the idea of meridians, or what the Indian system calls nadis, the idea of prana in the Indian system or chi in the Chinese medicine system, it makes sense that your voice chanting, vibrating your body, which is predominantly water, that vibrating your whole vessel would affect how prana or chi is flowing through your meridians or nadis. Not to mention that according to many of the ancient traditions, including Kundalini Yoga, we have, I think it's 40,000 nadis just in the roof of our mouth. So when your tongue hits the roof of the mouth, or you chant something like Om with the tongue hitting the upper palate, that's literally vibrating the pituitary. causing the pituitary to secrete, bringing your attention and awareness away from the back of the brain, which is often called the reptilian brain, more associated with fight or flight, being very reactionary, and bringing the attention, the prana, into the frontal brain, the frontal lobe, which is more associated with being responsive, right, as opposed to reactive. That's where our intuition lies. That's what all these yogic practices are trying to get us into, that space in the third eye, in the front of the brain. Yeah? So you can't think your way into that space. You can only get there through the vehicle of the breath. And mantra can just be so helpful if you're willing to be or sit with the discomfort of chanting. And then I have some tips about that discomfort, okay? One tip I'd really suggest is to wear earphones or earbuds, like, that you'd use for your iPhone or your Android phone, and listen to chants and sing along with them. So like that YouTube video of mine with the long sat nams would be great, as would any audio track where it's like a group of people singing, and then turn the volume up pretty high in your earbuds so that you can't really hear your own voice so clearly, right? Because you're listening to me singing or, whoever, the track singing. And then you sing along. And for me, that was really helpful because if I just heard my own voice, just chanting alone, I'd often feel more self-critical. I'd often feel silly. I'd often maybe not like the sound of my voice. Again, I can do it now, but at the beginning, there was discomfort there. So if you experience that discomfort, know that it's A, normal, and B, that the really easy way to get around that is like have your earbuds in, listening to someone else doing the chant, and you're just singing along. So you're singing along with your heart wide open, and that is really, really helpful. It was really helpful for me. And then when I started taking the earbuds away, I was actually like impressed. I was like, oh, now that I'm listening to myself, I don't sound as bad as I thought I did. Wow, my breath capacity has improved so much. That's another thing that's really cool about chanting is your breath and lung capacity is going to expand when you do this work. I went to go running, and I don't really run that often anymore since I had my baby. But I was so impressed how far I could run and how fast I could run. I could do like a 10-minute mile. And it was just because I've had such a serious chanting practice over the past couple weeks. My lung capacity was just that big, that huge, that strong. I mean, it's literally like the equivalent of if you took a huge inhale and then went underwater and held your breath for as long as possible and then came up and did that again and again and again and again. Because if you're really deeply chanting the way that it was intended, using your whole body, vibrating your whole system, and when you really get into chanting, it's like it's vibrating each of the chakras, not just the throat chakra, all of the chakras, these different vowels, these different words are associated with different chakras and are going to wake up different energetic parts of the body. So it's literally just like playing your energetic body or playing your subtle body like a piano, like an instrument when you do these chants. It's, as you can tell, it's very exciting. So that was the tip I wanted to share, is just wear earbuds if you're self-conscious. And if you think, again, another objection I used to have to chanting is like, oh, well, should I chant or should I do some yoga asana, like get my workout in? I would reframe it. Like, you're not choosing between one or the other, because when you do the chanting, like I said, you are working out because you're taking such deep breaths. If you're doing them with integrity and really taking those deep breaths, it is the equivalent of running. It is the equivalent of swimming, like I said, and holding your breath. And you will be shocked at how much you feel like you got a workout if you do 8, 11, 22 minutes of really intense chanting. Another thing that I found helpful, tip number 3, I guess this is that if you is to just shout it out. That's my tip. When you have the earbuds in, try to do it when no one's home, or try to go to a space where you don't feel inhibited, and really belt it out. And I found that I had to belt it out, really, really belt it out in order to get familiar with these sounds. And you can even do it in a way that lets anger out. Really let yourself belt it out. And I found that I needed to do that for, I'd say, 2 weeks or so before I kind of was able to find that sweet spot where I was really using my diaphragm, my fullest lung capacity, but I no longer felt like I was shouting. And it instead became devotional, right? It became devotional, which was really amazing. So I was using all the power that I had kind of figured out by overdoing it, over shouting and the chanting. I had all that power behind me, but then I was able to make it more a devotional sensation instead of just screaming, if that makes sense. The equivalent to this is if you first get a drum set and you just want to like bang on the drums as hard as possible for the first week or two, just to like get that out of your system and feel what it's like what does it feel like to beat the drum? How much can you let yourself go crazy? Like, let some stuff out. That was for me at the beginning of this chanting experience. I just wanted to chant really, really loud, almost aggressively in some points. But going through that really helped expand my lung capacity, see what my physical body was capable of. And then it was fantastic because now I like built that inner power up, but I no longer am chanting. I mean, it's still loud, but I'm not shouting. And that also enables me to chant for longer. My fourth tip is to really focus on the inhale. So I've kind of been mentioning this throughout, but really focus on your inhale when you're chanting. I think people really get caught up on the words and the pronunciation, and that's beyond the scope of this episode, and I can do a future episode on it, and we'll also talk to Mike about it, pronunciation and that kind of thing. But rather than get hung up on all of that, think about taking your deepest inhale so that you can chant really powerfully and long on that exhale. Yeah? I think that often gets missed. And whether you do that Satnam video that I mentioned that I have free on YouTube, or another audio track, you'll notice that like the people chanting, they really pause to take that inhale, like Sat Nam, right? I could have made that much longer, but that took a lot out of me. And then it's like, I have to take a big inhale to do that again. So focus on the inhale, focus on taking in a lot of air. And then remember that the chant is just like happening on the exhalation. It's just a vibration that's happening on the exhalation, just like as if you did a really nice, long, slow exhale, which guess what? We want to do anyway. We want to do nice, long, slow exhales in yoga class, restorative yoga, yin yoga. Hopefully if you're listening to this, if you make your exhale longer than your inhale, it's going to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. That's all the rest and digest functions of the body. So it's always good to have your exhale be longer than your inhale. And when you chant, it really forces you to do that if you're chanting a longer mantra. So focus on that inhale to power your exhale. And I think it will serve you even not when you're chanting, just when you're on the mat in life. It will help power your asana practice to know how to breathe this deep. So on Thursday, we'll be talking more about chanting and kirtan with Mike Cohen. So tune into Thursday's episode to get all that info. And I would love to answer additional questions you guys have about chanting, or questions you have for me about how I've been developing my own personal chanting practice at home when I'm someone who used to violently dislike chanting. In fact, there was a yoga studio I used to go to in New York that always did chanting at the beginning of class, and I'd almost like purposely come late because I disliked it so much. And it just shows how much we can change, right? How much this practice really powers growth, transformation. Whatever you think, whatever self-limiting beliefs you have, like I did not think I would be someone who would ever chant. It's going to turn around, and now I want to lead chants and chant as much as possible. So, this practice opens up so much possibility. You just need to make the time and get on your mat every day and do what you love. And if it's not chanting right now, don't worry. It'll open up over time. But hopefully this episode has given you some ideas, some tips and tricks if you're just curious or want to get started. If you want to connect with other listeners of the show and also get Savannah Spirit's fantastic blog posts, they have an incredible blog. I always learn so much reading their blog. Make sure to join their private Facebook group. It's savannahspirit.com/group. If you have questions for me directly about chanting or other topics you'd like me to address in an episode like this, just let me know. The easiest way is probably through Instagram. You can direct message me at Larkin Yoga TV. And remember, your ratings and reviews make a huge difference. And if you're listening all the way to the very end, thank you. And I have a special treat for you. If you leave a rating or review here on iTunes and then just screenshot it with your phone and email it to my team, info@brettlarkin.com, I will send you, as a thank you for leaving a review, a list of affirmations and journaling prompts that were a part of my uplifted journal from last year that are very powerful, very potent. It's a beautiful, beautiful little PDF download full of affirmations and journaling prompts, my favorite ones, and we'll email that right out to you as a thank you for leaving a review. So just leave a review here on iTunes. If you don't know how, savannahspirit.com/review. Take a screenshot of the review once it's posted, email it to info info@brettlarkin.com, and we will send that your way. All the details on how to do that are also in the show notes if you're curious. And again, I want to thank SavannahSpirit.com for making this whole show possible. Remember that Take 25 new coupon that they have is so cool because you just take $25 off whatever is in your cart at SavannahSpirit.com. So make sure to head over there for so many beautiful yoga items and fair trade gifts. I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for being here and have a beautiful rest of your day. From my heart to yours, namaste.
You've been listening to the Savannah Podcast. To find out more about Savannah, go to savannahspirit.com or follow Savannah on Facebook at facebook.com/Savannah Spirit. For daily inspiration, check out our blog at savannaeast.com. Be sure to join us next week for a new episode, and thank you for listening to the Savannah Podcast.